The World Cup group stage is finally over. We've got the 16 teams that are in the round of 16. Now let's go ahead and predict who's going to make it to the quarterfinals. What's up guys, my name is Augustine from DFO, also known as a bit of a football penis on Instagram, and I'm back to predict another stage of the World Cup. I got everything right here on my notes, everything is thought about, and I'm gonna tell you exactly who's gonna make it through, starting with Belgium and Germany. I think, wait, hold up, that can't be right. Starting with the US and Netherlands. Let's talk about USA first. USA controlled portions of each game that they played. Even the match against England, which was definitely their hardest game. Starting with Wales, they played a great first half, then they choked kind of in the second half to end on a draw. With Iran, they dominated most of the game, especially that first half, and then that second half was rocky. Against England, it was also kind of the same thing. Dominated the first half, and then the second half, they fell apart a little bit. So it's a problem of consistency with this USA side. And also, whenever they are dominating, I don't think they have much of a clear idea of what to do in the final third. Their crossing is usually very bad. Even if the crosses were good, they don't have a great target man to find in said crosses. I just don't think they have many great players in attack, like players like Wea or the strikers like Wright or Sargent. I don't think they cut it for me. So yes, USA could dominate, but the reason they haven't been getting the results that much is because they dominate for no reason, because they can't put the ball in the back of the net. Against Iran, they depended with Pulisic, but can they do that again? Can they do that more often is what I'm trying to say, because you can keep the ball, you can keep passing around in the final third, looking for gaps and openings, but USA tend to not be able to find said gaps and openings, and they can't really put the ball in the back of the net. So far, they've only scored twice in the entire tournament, and Netherlands is a much bigger opponent than Iran and Wales. Now, moving over to Netherlands, I would say they're slightly underperforming. They haven't exactly proved themselves just yet. Yes, they finished first place in their group, but honestly, most of their games, I mean, their game against Qatar, that was an easy win. Qatar's probably the worst team to have played in the World Cup this year. They should have possibly lost against Ecuador if things had gone differently. And then against Senegal, that was another rocky game for Netherlands. So like I'm saying, Netherlands haven't exactly proved themselves. They have a great team on paper. Amazing defense, great midfield that is showing themselves in this tournament with De Jong and Gapko. The attack is what worries me. I can actually see this game going to extra time because of a dull 0-0. I can see USA dominating just like they've been doing in the beginning and not finding the gaps, because Netherlands, if there's something that they're great at, it's the defense. Players like Van Dijk, players like De Ligt, Ake, they're gonna make it hard for USA to find these gaps. So I think it's gonna be a mix of both of these teams having a poor attack that is gonna lead to a 0-0. I can see one of these teams winning it in extra time, and to me, that will be Netherlands. Though I am gonna be rooting otherwise, but this is not a video where I tell you who I'm going to be rooting for. Yes, I'll be rooting for the US just because my homie Laith, he's American, he's a big USA fan, and I've been watching most of the games with him. So I'm going to be there by his side watching the game. But I think the Netherlands are going to kill the American dream, and they're going to advance to quarterfinals. So USA would be out. Secondly, we got Australia versus Argentina. It looks like one of the most one-sided games. Australia definitely shouldn't be here. I think most people counted France or Denmark to make it ahead. Denmark completely underperformed. They were supposed to be the dark horse of the tournament. Australia got the better of them, and now they're here. You gotta give them the respect that they deserve, and it is only 90 minutes. Anything could happen, especially in this World Cup, like we've seen. I mean, we lost to Saudi Arabia, but I'm gonna talk a little bit about Argentina and why I think we should be going through. Argentina has grown a little bit as the tournament has progressed. They lost to Saudi Arabia in a very tactical match. Scaloni wanted to beat Saudi Arabia at their own game with Saudi Arabia's high defense line, with the long balls. Didn't work out. We scored like 4 offside goals. I think any other day, like out of 100 times, we would have beaten Saudi Arabia 95. I'm sorry. I don't know if that comes across as cocky. I don't know, but I think that's the case, and I think most people can agree. It didn't work out. Then we beat Mexico. Then we beat Poland. So we're kind of growing as the tournament goes. I think our biggest problem right now is the fact that we don't have Lo Celso. Has kind of ruined the rhythm and the chemistry in our midfield. Scaloni has had a huge test in front of him. Does he start Papu Gomez to replace Lo Celso? Does he start McAllister, Enzo Fernandez, Paredes, Guido Rodriguez? There's a lot of options, and there's a lot of things you could do. First, he started Papu Gomez, trying to go attacking, didn't work out. Now he's kind of rooting for McAllister, and that definitely worked out, as we saw against Mexico and Poland. He had a great match, especially the one against Poland where he was man of the match. I think we gotta stick with McAllister. Enzo Fernandez is also a great shot, but I don't know if he can play the full 90 minutes or if it's better to bring him as a super sub. But What I'm trying to say is that the thing that could hurt Argentina is not having a fully set midfield, especially because we've seen players like Paredes and DePaul have a pretty rocky start to the World Cup. I want to give Australia the respect that they deserve for making it this far, but I think Argentina will figure out their issues in the midfield, and I think a motivated attack line and the great defense that we've had so far are gonna get the job done. So I'm gonna choose Argentina. Now let's move on to game number 3. Japan versus Croatia is pretty much the game of the underdogs. There were very low odds in which Japan made it out of a group with Spain and Germany, but not only did they make it out of said group, they also beat both Spain and Germany. While on the other side, you got a more experienced Croatia that had decent chances to make it out of the groups. I think this match is going to be one to watch for sure. I'm going to give the win to Japan because if I was a Japanese player and I just came from beating Spain and Germany, what's going to stop this Japan side when it comes to the mental side of the game? Croatia, we gotta give them the respect that they deserve. I mean, after all, they're the runner-ups of the last previous tournament. But I think Japan can actually seal the deal and make it to quarterfinals, which is a humongous win in itself. So I'm gonna give the pass to Japan. I don't know if this is my first unpopular prediction. I don't know if most people will have Croatia. I haven't looked at what people are saying, but I am gonna go for Japan. I'm gonna trust my gut. Japan advances to quarterfinals. All right, next up we got Brazil versus South Korea, and I debated very much if I just wanted to go with the underdog here, but I think it was mostly a case of me being Argentinian and wanting Brazil out as soon as possible. A little part of my heart wants to pick South Korea, man. We've seen they're able to give up a fight against big nations with Uruguay and then with Portugal today. While in the other side, you have Brazil, who apparently are favorites, but they didn't really convince or completely dominate in the score sheet, at least, against any of the teams that they played against. A 2-0 win, a 1-0 win, and today they lose to Cameroon. It's a little bit tricky because they dominated the games, but not the score sheets. Like, they're not going off, like, for example, Spain versus Costa Rica, England versus Iran. Yes, they have somewhat dominated the games. But if you're favorites of the tournament, you gotta do a little bit better. And today, for example, against Cameroon, Brazil's bench did not show up. Before the game against Cameroon, they had already qualified to round of 16. A lot of players got their chance, and they lost to Cameroon at the 92nd minute. So, didn't prove themselves. Apparently, they're favorites. I don't want to talk too much shit about Brazil. I really wanted to pick South Korea because a little part of me thinks that it can happen, but then the other part of me thinks it's way too diluted to have Brazil out in round 16. I hate that I'm gonna go with this, but I'm gonna go for logic. I think Brazil will have their stuff together once the knockouts begin. Maybe they'll take this Cameroon loss as a little wake-up call, like, hey, this thing, we're not as favorites as we thought we were gonna be. This is gonna be a lot harder. Let's get our shit together. Let's prove that we're a great nation, that we are favorites against South Korea, get the job done, and move on to quarterfinals. I'm gonna have Brazil advancing, unfortunately. Next up, you got England versus Senegal. And before the tournament started, I think this is, in one of my predictions videos, this is what I had for the round of 16. And I believe I even put Senegal to advance because I thought they were gonna have money and I thought they were gonna do a lot better. But Senegal didn't exactly play at their best. If you could say they put up a great fight against Netherlands in a game that they debatably could have won or should have won. And then they beat Ecuador. They got the job done. Senegal hasn't been amazing, but they haven't been bad either. They're kind of like right there in the middle. It makes sense that they made it through a second place. While on the other side, you got England, who were never favorites of the tournament. They're one of those teams that could make it far, and like if something crazy happens, they could win. But they started the tournament very well against Iran. They beat them 6-2, and then the game against Wales, they also had a great performance. They dominated both on the pitch and on the score sheet. The thing is, the game against USA put up a great fight, which is something that Wales and Iran never really did. And England just couldn't break USA down. And this is USA, a team that doesn't have the brightest of players. I think Senegal's a little bit better than USA, so maybe if Senegal can start the game just like USA did and put up a fight and play the games as equals, as a 50-50 type thing, and not go as like the underdog, England are under trouble here. But I gotta give them a little bit of respect. They have the most goals per match of any team in the World Cup so far. Harry Kane hasn't been scoring that much, but he is the top assister of the tournament, I think, with 4 assists. And then Rashford is their top scorer with 3 goals. He's got a goal per match so far. I think they're gonna be good when it comes to the goal department. I can see this game going like 2-2 or something, and then having either a late winner or something happening in extra time, something along those lines. But I am gonna go for England. I hope to see a very close match, and hopefully we'll see England get out, because I'm just the kind of fan that wants to see all the big nations get eliminated early. But I think England will actually get it done. All right, guys, France and Poland. Let's talk about France first. They have accumulated the highest expected goals out of any team that's still in. Mbappe is going off with a goal per match, 3 goals, I believe 1 assist. Complete game changer. We saw that specifically in the match versus Denmark, where it was a very, very tight game, and Mbappe just called it. Mbappe is an absolutely great player. He'll destroy your entire defense with either pace or skill moves or anything that he'll just pull out of the bag, and all of a sudden you're in trouble. Can Poland hold him off alongside Griezmann and all the attacking talent that they have? Let's talk about Poland. They were the worst side in our group. Whenever they faced Mexico, Mexico got the better of them. And honestly, Mexico should have put the ball in the back of the net at least once in that game. Just Mexico had a lot of attacking problems. They don't have a true number 9. Couldn't put the ball in the back of the net. Poland got a draw. Then they beat Saudi Arabia. And again, a Saudi Arabia team that should have put the ball in the back of the net at least once. They hit the post a couple times. And then when it came to Argentina, Poland did absolutely nothing. They set back and they waited and they waited, and they just sent Lewandowski up top, send him long balls and see what he could do. But I think they had 1 shot that entire game, and it wasn't even on target. The Argentinian defense was not challenged whatsoever, and we scored twice, but we had to expect a goal of like almost 4. Like, Lautaro Martinez had his chance, Julian Alvarez scored, but he also had 2 chances that were somewhat clear. Messi had his, Di Maria, McAllister. We got a lot of chances. That game could have been 3-0, 4-0. And it's not even that Poland were already qualified. If Poland had allowed 1 goal in or 2 more goals in, they would have been out. Like, this is not like, oh, Poland were poor because they already qualified or whatever. No. For the most part, they needed to draw, to win, or to not allow that many goals in. And they just sat back and waited for the game to end. It's like they never even showed up. They got really lucky that we didn't score more against them. So if Poland set themselves up like this against the big nation that is Argentina, what are they going to do against France? Because France are obviously the big favorites for this game, if not one of the biggest favorites for the World Cup. And if Poland start this game like they did against Argentina, they've got very, very slim chances, like a 5% chance of making it out. I'm gonna go for France. It's the logical reason, but it's also mostly just Poland showing me that they are one of the weakest sides out of the teams that are in the round of 16. So yeah, I'm very sorry for Poland. I hope that they put up a fight and that, you know, I'm wrong, because again, I want to see all these big sides out, but France are in the quarterfinals for me. Before I move on to the next game, remember to subscribe to the channel, because I'm racing to 7,000 subscribers. We're trying to get there as soon as possible, and unfortunately only about 20% of my viewers who continuously watch my videos are subscribed. So even if you think that you are subscribed, just double check for me and help me out. Maybe share the video or the channel itself. I do appreciate it. Let's continue with the video. Next up, we got Morocco and Spain, and I've got a lot to say about the Spain side. Starting with them, they only convinced against Costa Rica in the first game, just mostly because Costa Rica were bad rather than because Spain were really, really good. We saw it later against Germany, where it was a very tight game, but Germany, I think, played slightly better and could have actually had the result. And then when it came to Japan, Japan put up a great fight and Spain couldn't really deliver. They're the team with the highest possession so far out of any other team, but they have the same problem that a lot of other Spain generations have: possession without a cause. They pass around, and it's like they barely even try and look for an opening, for a gap. That's the whole point of having the possession. Just keep it, and then find a gap. And it's like their midfield has been letting them down. And at one point, I thought that their midfield was the strongest part of the pitch. Apparently not. Spain really needed to deliver in that game against Japan. Like, at one point, they were out of the group stage if Costa Rica had beaten Germany. But it's like Spain had already qualified to the round 16 and they played their bench. But it's not that. They just didn't deliver. They just didn't play a good match. So if Morocco can go into this game, and remember, they are going into this game finishing first place above Canada, above Belgium, above Croatia. If they can go into this game without the mindset of we're underdogs and just play 50-50, I think Spain can have a lot of trouble. I don't trust Spain's midfield, and I don't trust their defense at all. So a big part of me wanted to put Morocco here. Yo, people, what's up? It's Augustine from the present or future or something. Look, I was editing this video and I convinced myself in this video that I'm editing, I said that Spain were gonna go through. Here, I'll show it to you. Spain is most likely gonna show up now that it's round of 16. I'm gonna go for Spain. But now that I'm editing it, I'm I'm convincing myself that Morocco is going to go through. So I'm officially changing the prediction, and I think Morocco is going to go through. So do with that what you will. But yeah, moving on to the last game, it's Portugal versus Switzerland. Portugal are in good form other than the loss today. The loss today was a little bit tricky because they had already qualified, but now it just came from a loss and they've proven to be beatable. If we talk about Portugal first, they have players that are in great form. For example, Bruno Fernandes is probably one of the best players in the tournament. Fotmov actually has him as the highest rated player so far. Pretty much any Portuguese player is having a decent tournament, except, I gotta say it, I'm gonna go there, Ronaldo. He scored one penalty in the first game against Ghana, and then he's just kind of been not there. Today, he had a pretty bad match, and he hasn't quite showed up just yet. Though I will give him that Ronaldo is this sort of player who shows up in big games. So what better opportunity to show up when you haven't been that good than the round of 16 in the World Cup? If he can show up starting now in the knockouts, Portugal are a very dangerous side. While in the other side, you have Switzerland, who put up a great fight against Brazil. Didn't quite get the result, but they put up a great fight. So we can see that they can do damage to big teams. And I think Brazil is definitely a lot better than Portugal. So Switzerland could get the job done. They did against Serbia and Cameroon. By the way, those two matches, definitely not easy. I can see Switzerland advancing. I know I spoke about Ronaldo showing up in these big games, and maybe he actually will deliver and he'll, resuscitate. But something tells me that Switzerland are going to go into this game with a little bit more confidence. And as the game goes on and the minutes pass by, Switzerland are going to grow and Portugal are going to shrink. I think this is definitely unpopular, but I'm going to go for Switzerland. I think Switzerland will advance and they will make it to the quarterfinals. Let me know the 8 teams that you think are going to make it through down in the comments, and I'm definitely going to be making videos predicting the quarterfinals and the semifinals and all that stuff. So subscribe to the channel, don't forget that, and I will see you guys later. Enjoy the World Cup, best of luck to your teams, take care, and cheers.